Welcome to the Counter Srveil podcast on Iron Geek. Tonight, we're joined by Connor Goodwolf, a cybersecurity expert who has been at the center of a recent controversy. Connor made headlines by revealing the true extent of a major data breach in Columbus, which included sensitive information such as police crime matrices and personal identifiable information of over 400,000 citizens. His actions have sparked a debate about responsible disclosure and the treatment of cybersecurity whistleblowers. Responsible disclosure is a process where security researchers report vulnerabilities to affected organizations, allowing them to address these issues before they are made public. However, in Connor's case, his efforts to inform the public about the breach's severity have led to legal action against him, including a restraining order and a lawsuit seeking damages. Tonight, we will discuss the complexities surrounding cybersecurity whistleblowers, the importance of responsible disclosure, and the challenges faced by those who choose to speak out. Key points: Connor Goodwolf, cybersecurity expert who exposed the extent of a data breach in Columbus. Responsible disclosure, a process where security researchers report vulnerabilities to affected organizations before making them public. Legal action. Connor Goodwolf faces a restraining order and a lawsuit for revealing sensitive information from the data breach. Cybersecurity whistleblowers, individuals who report cybersecurity vulnerabilities, often facing challenges and legal repercussions for their actions.
Hey, welcome to the podcast. I'm here with my co-hosts Sledge and Alt Key, as well as Connor Goodwolf from Columbus, Ohio. Welcome, Connor. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And we're glad to have you. Why don't you give our viewers a little background on yourself, what you do for a living, and this whole case that's happened as best you can without saying anything that would compromise the integrity of the case, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. So I'm a multifaceted engineer. So I've done everything. Well, I constantly do everything from software engineering to systems to cybersecurity standards and compliance. I generally have consulted primarily over the years, sometimes running multiple projects at once, sometimes while even being fully employed. So it's been a wild ride for me. So with this whole case and whatnot, you mentioned like during the preview responsible disclosure. So it's, kind of a ethical and sticky situation, no matter how you put it.
Yeah, and from my understanding, you tried to disclose responsibly. You tried to get in touch with the right people, make sure that they understood what was going on, and you just kind of hit a wall before you decided, hey, somebody's got to know about this, and then you went to the media.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens if you can't get a hold of somebody and you go to the media? I mean, are you covered or are you not? It's like I did try to contact multiple departments within the city of Columbus, like the prosecutor's office, the Department of Technology, the city council, the Columbus Police Department. And remember, how cities work is it's an organization. So every department has their own PR, has their own legal team. Some of them even have their own tech team. But overall, the Department of Technology is a place where everybody's data is hosted. And there was no recourse other than going to the media because no one would call me back.
Yeah. And I actually heard one of the people, the police chief, I believe it was surprised to hear that this was the case. She only heard it, once it was on the news when, people had been trying to reach out. You've been trying to reach out. Even media was trying to reach out. And it wasn't until an actual media person came to the police department that she found out about it. And seems like they're not doing a great job of informing their own employees in that city that there's been a data breach and what's been exposed.
And I don't think they understand the intention either.
Yeah, so everyone I spoke to in every department was basically told the Department of Technology and the mayor's office is handling the breach, and that no one was really looking into it, and everything should be going, questions or any calls or comments should be going to the Department of Technology. So there was no pipeline available for someone like me or someone with information to reach out, like companies or even open source projects usually have something like a security email or some sort of portal. It's like report here for any sort of responsible disclosure. The city does not have one of those.
Yeah, maybe after all this, they'll set one up because they certainly want to avoid this kind of thing happening again.
Yeah.
They got hit by a ransomware group, and when that happens, oftentimes they will now not just encrypt, they're also going to exfiltrate because they can get them twice sometimes, and also people tend to be more likely to pay if they want to hide stuff and not have things exposed. And I don't think the way they handled this is really good at all, in my personal opinion, as somebody who works in the industry for many years. And I used to do bug bounty stuff before I was a pen tester. And even then, I ran into some issues similar, not nearly as bad as this one, mind you, but where companies would threaten me rather than work with me. Like, don't tell anybody. People knowing what has been breached. It's detrimental to their egos as well as their the public opinion that can kind of turn against them when they find out things are not secured well. So a lot of reasons why they might not be very receptive to somebody coming forward. But in your case, you weren't the one who found the issue. You're the one who downloaded the breach. I believe it was from the threat actor's actual portal, not like another website like a dehashed or not dehashed rather.
Yeah,
but
he didn't do the illegal thing.
He didn't do the illegal thing. He just went to the website that anybody who's got internet and knows how to download maybe Tor browser can do, and pulled down, like, what was it, 8 terabytes or so at the first. Probably took a while, and then went through it. And it's like, they said this is encrypted, but it's not. They said that this information that was leaked is useless, but it's clearly got very important sensitive data in it. And man, how do you cope with the way they dealt with that? Like, it seems like the complete opposite of the outcome you would have wanted.
So the initial, I know. So the initial claim was the data was corrupted or encrypted, so it was unusable. So that came from the mayor's office. Unfortunately, that was not the case. So I had started working with people who had basically reached out to me from law enforcement, and this was before the TRO was filed. But once I started working with some law enforcement officers, and they had questions about like Tor or how I downloaded it, it really, it really clicked. It's like they asked me, it's like, I used the Tor browser, and the download finished, but it was corrupted. I asked, it's like, well, how big was it? It's like over 100 gigs. It was like, you can't use Tor browser. If it stops and you keep resuming it, it may corrupt. So it's like, it dawned on me, it's like someone probably did the same and then told the mayor the data was corrupted. So it's like, you can't just be using the Tor browser. Personally, I use the Tor tools like TorSox or TorFi with wget or whatever. It's like, and that's how I usually download any large data set from Tor. It's like, it dawned on me, someone must have done the same and then told, as far as like downloading the files in the browser, and then told the mayor. And so the mayor got egg on his face when he says like, it's all unusable. He sent out this fact sheet to all the media too. It's like reading through, it's like, this is all false.
So it seems like it wasn't necessarily an attempt to lie to the public on their part, but they were just maybe misinformed due to technical issues surrounding downloading so much large data through Tor. And
they didn't have the right people doing any investigation at first. And it wasn't the law enforcement officers who reached out to me. It was a completely different team that was hired to investigate the breach. They just did not know how to navigate the dark web or much about it at all.
Wow. So it really does seem like they kind of dropped the ball in this case, where they could have handled this a very different way and be like, look, our initial discovery process, we maybe were a bit misinformed by some of the people who were working on the case. They could have come out and retracted their previous statement about there not being any pertinent data in the breach, and then been like, they could have handled this a lot better, I think, but because they maybe felt embarrassed, or maybe it was like personal to them that, they just don't seem to be handling it the right way, in my opinion. I mean, to file a lawsuit about somebody who's trying to bring this kind of data to your, like, hey, you guys were wrong. This is not what happened. And letting those people know so they can get like credit monitoring and whatever else they might need to protect themselves. It seems very much like you're a good guy in this, but they were trying to paint you as just as bad as the ransomware group that attacked them.
Yeah, I did see the press conference. Unfortunately, like, there were some words said, and I can understand where some guy just comes out of the woodwork and starts showing the media. So it's like, who the hell is this guy? So I can understand their concern. However, the appropriate action should have been to reach out, just like one of the law enforcement officers did for the state of Ohio, and we've been talking ever since. So it's like, that's what the city should have done. And since the 13th, let me just be clear: the actual like lawsuit was filed on and approved on the 29th, I think it was. And I had been talking to the media since the 13th, multiple times during the week. They had every opportunity to file said TRO or civil suit, but they waited until apparently I started talking about the crime database, the crime matrix database, and that became an issue. It's like, okay, well, you were so concerned, why didn't you do this sooner? Or, hell, even reach out to me. Like, clearly, the breach firm, Dinsmore, they've been very communicative. They weren't at first, because I found out that the lawyer who had originally contacted me had been traveling. So communication was spotty. It just kind of fell apart. And it's like, really, just the dominoes fell in a certain way to where there was just a breakdown in communication. I can understand that, but it shouldn't have been where they launched a lawsuit. It should have been, hey, Connor, can you come back to the table and talk to us? No.
Right. I mean, it definitely could have been handled way better.
Yeah.
Have there been any developments that maybe haven't been talked about yet in terms of like maybe they're dropping the lawsuit, or they've made any kind of decisions that haven't been like what we're all seeing when we look at a Bleeping Computer article about it?
Well, I've always had a lawyer on standby, but sometimes bring a lawyer to the table, it can cause a tense situation to become even more tense. Right now, me and the city are looking to, again, sit down at the table, discuss, just like how we came to the preliminary agreement. Again, come to the table, discuss how we can move forward. I can't say much further at that point regards to the civil suit.
This would also set a precedent on how the government treats stuff like this, because right now it's de-incentivizing keeping things secure by punishing people that have the intent of securing things. But that is a story that goes back decades.
Yeah, but I mean, they also kind of violated the unspoken rule of you never attack a cybersecurity individual, especially when they're trying to do the right thing. Ultimately, when I heard about the filing of the TRO and the civil suit, my first thought was, hello, Barbra Streisand.
Yeah.
For those who may not be aware of the Streisand effect, Barbra Streisand filed a lawsuit with regards to a photo taken of her mansion, and this was early 2000s. Someone had gotten upset and been like, okay, we'll file a lawsuit, great. And then as a result, everybody online decided to take that photo and post it everywhere. Thus, it is called the Streisand effect.
Yep.
Amazing. Unmute. Delchai, feel free to unmute. I'm sure you've got some questions as well.
If that hissing isn't too bad.
All right. Well, when Delchai unmutes, I'm sure he's got some questions too. He's very nuanced in the ways of blue team stuff. I'm sure he's got a question or two. All right. So next, where do you go from here? Has this affected your main job at all? Has it affected your ability to earn a living or do anything like that?
Oh no, not at all. The business who currently employs me has been overwhelmingly supportive. They're
Awesome.
just like, just make sure it doesn't affect any of your work, Connor, because I can't say which company, but at the end of the day, the company has to deal with data. So moving forward, I'm looking to also develop like e-discovery and post-breach analysis into our product. So, it's been something that I've been looking into from the start. So overall, it's like, this isn't just a hobby of mine. It's a part of my career.
Cool.
Right. I think that kind of goes back to, for a lot of us, it's not just our career when we're dealing with cybersecurity. It's like kind of part of who we are,
It's a lifestyle and a passion.
Exactly. I mean, it really is for I think many people in the industry, just who you are. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's part of you. So
Yeah, it's like I have a history of working with startups, building a startups, and it's like helping fund and build the technology with regards to like machine learning. Obviously, now I'm in the AI tech as well, but I mean, this has always been a passion of mine. Just going through data, finding out information, doing the analysis, and generating a report from that. I mean, to me, that's fun. And I've always been so thankful that it's been so ingrained into me to where it's become part of my career.
Yep. I'm happy to hear that your employer is having your back on this, because certain stories over the last few years, no names, but we've heard employers just bailing on people.
Oh, no. This is like their response is like, Connor, you're on TV. I'm just like, oh, Lord.
oh, wow.
Yeah. But no, it's it's just more of a one step at a time. It's like, as far as like the city suing me, I mean, even my employers understood. It's like, just make sure you get it all cleared up and whatnot. It's like, it really, realistically, like, me and the city just need to keep going back to the table, hashing everything out, and I'm sure, at the end of the day, the lawsuit's going to get dropped with prejudice, and they'll understand, like, coming from my perspective, to where what I was trying to do was not anything with bad intentions, but making sure that the public was informed. And even going forward, even after this, what I'm going to be doing is going to our state legislator and even our U.S. lawmakers, and pushing for better privacy laws, better consumer laws. We need our laws updated. Europe has the GDPR. California has the CCPA. But the rest of us kind of have to just go with the scraps, because no one wants to sit there and push for better laws, better, as far as like breach notification. GDPR, essentially, the law is, if there's a breach, you notify people immediately, not 3 months from now, not 6 months from now, not 14 months from now, like some companies and some organizations, immediately.
Yeah, publicly traded ones need to file a 4K, I believe. Even like Delchai had written a tool that kind of scrapes through those, and
Yeah.
it's very interesting that sometimes Europe is ahead of the curve in these things. But I think they should pass a Goodwolf law. Like when there's a cybersecurity researcher and they're trying to disclose, especially to a government entity, you need to maybe put that in writing somewhere. I mean, hopefully at the federal level, but at least in Ohio, so this kind of crap doesn't happen again, because this is not the way things should be handled.
Now, the CFAA, the Computer Fraud Abuse Act, does even have a section in there with regards to good faith actions. But it's also an older law. We do need to update that as well to be more modernized, because as we go through and there's an increase of breaches and hacks, we need to make sure that people within the tech and cybersecurity industry are protected.
Excuse me one second. I just got to mute some feedback here coming through.
And like the CFAA is what, 30 some odd years old? More than
Yes,
that?
it's so old. Oh, just
What,
I don't know why we,
1986?
I don't know why haven't updated it before, but it's like it just has me scratching my head.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely, there's a lot of laws pertaining to cybersecurity that need to be updated. I think the issues tend to be that when they do go to make updates to these laws, the people who make the updates don't understand the technology well enough to actually put it in writing where it makes sense and it can't be taken advantage of in bad ways. So like they try and make a good faith law like this, and then something happens where a threat actor ends up taking advantage of it, where they're like, yeah, we disclosed, but we also asked for Bitcoin. Like there's a lot of nuance. So hopefully they do get their crap together and come out with some better laws in this regard to protect people like you, but also the public.
Yeah.
Because if people like you are going to be treated this way when you actually do go to disclose, it's probably going to be a lot fewer disclosures of people coming back and being like, hey, government was wrong. That data breach has a lot of data in it that's really, really bad. And you can't be telling everybody that there's nothing there, because now all the people are at risk. And I don't see as many researchers coming forward and being as eager. It's one thing, they're not going to give you any kind of like kudos or like thank you, but another one when they actually prosecute you for trying to do the right thing is just crazy. Definitely.
We have a good question in chat.
Oh, there we go.
Hold on, before I lose my train of thought, I was gonna say, like, these politicians and lawmakers can have the best advisors on the planet, right? But if they can't wrap their head around it, they can't articulate it properly.
Yeah, no. That wouldn't surprise me. There's also the that question reminds me of some of the security companies bashing on operating system manufacturers, to where they've included security products like basic antivirus, and then saying like it's anti-competitive, etc. It's like, who's to say that some security companies aren't like lining the pockets hoping that there's breaches?
Well said. Absolutely. We got another question here from Delchai. Do you think that the lack of updated laws is based on the lack of understanding by the lawmakers, or their pockets being filled with opponents of security?
Yeah. Well, that's why I was making that statement. It's just like, what if there's people funding in opposition, just lobbyists not wanting to update the laws, just because post breach analysis is a lucrative business.
Absolutely. I imagine it's one of the most highly billable hourly things companies can kind of get at, charging $500 an hour for an analyst on those kind of things.
Yeah, I've done some breach assessments and it gets pricey.
Yeah, someone actually submitted an FOIA request to Columbus, wanting to know how much they were getting billed by the post-breach firm. I think it was something like $395 an hour or something along the lines. So this is like, yeah.
And how much you want to bet the analysts they have working on that case? They're probably making $25 an hour.
Now, I do know some of the, they did mention the vendors that they're going through. The breach firm is outsourcing the work to. But I think they would be paying more than that, given that they're contracting the work out to these well-known third-party vendors.
The lowest I've ever heard for a contractor doing that was like 175, 150, somewhere around there.
Yeah, but I mean, who knows? The breach firm may end up hiring me to help out.
Hint, hint.
I put in a resume with them, That'd be a really ironic twist right there that you end up being the lead investigator on it.
I'd be pretty
So, but yeah. Are there any other questions from the audience?
So
Here's your cue, audience. Come on. Poke.
most of them are kind of trolly questions that I'm not going to pop up, like this one, for instance.
So
they're funny, but I'm not going to ask them out loud. Like this guy who writes, I bought a copy of Tor off the dark web for 200 Bitcoins once. And yeah, that's amusing, but that's not really what we're going to ask the guest. Thank you for your commentary, though.
What's a Tor?
What's a Tor?
What's a Tor?
Follow-up question here, Connor. When it comes to these firms that do this kind of investigation, isn't it true that oftentimes where there's smoke, there's fire? So they may find that there may have been other threat actors who had been in there first who chose not to do ransomware, or maybe we're just sitting around. In your experience, is that any times the case?
That's an interesting question. Who knows? Because again, though, there could be threat actors already in a system, and then they're just in the system pulling data down from these databases just for the sake of having intelligence feeds. That's quite possible. Who knows?
Delchai asks, why are people still using Tor when the majority of the exit nodes are owned or monitored by feds? It's a good question. I think because, at least my opinion, because it gives that feeling that you are anonymous. And it does have an obfuscation layer, even though there are ways that these things can be traced. I think a lot of people still believe in the security offered by it. And the model that's open source, that was, Department of the Navy when they published it, I believe.
I've actually played with that. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. Hey, CrowdStrong is here. Welcome, my friend. You have any questions for our guest, Connor?
I'm still getting myself situated. Out. Come back to me, please. Thank you.
Well, we also have another question from Lambda.
Oh, excellent. Lambda's got another question. So this one is...
And it's not trolley this time.
Excellent. The incident is definitely not the first of its kind, I'm sure. But have other incidents like this been reported publicly?
All the time.
So, yeah. Okay, so I actually want to bring up, so Reseda, they had just recently also hacked the Seattle, the transport agency for SeaTac and whatnot. That was just released this Friday, so Reseda has claimed responsibility for that one as well. But they have no intentions of paying them.
Yeah, I think it happens a lot more than the general public is aware of. I mean, every day there's incidences of hospitals getting breached, towns, governments. It's just it kind of flies under the radar because at this point there's only so many news hours in a day, and you could probably have an entire CNN network dedicated to what's been breached today. At this point, like 24-hour news cycle of just breaching.
We used to have that.
Space Rogue.
We used to have HNN, Hacker News Network.
Yep.
That's why I primarily utilize intelligence portals and feeds for tracking these different ransomware groups because there's so many. And then you can see in real time screenshots or information about what victims have been hacked. Now, in terms like Reseda, though, what they do offer, from what I've seen, they do offer the victims like a ransom first before even going public. It took, like 2 weeks? They usually wait about 2 weeks of contacting the victim, offering a ransom to pay. And if they don't pay, well, then they go public like, here you go, here's a public auction. Here's this fine curated data of whatever.
So how many times has it happened when they actually pay the ransom, but their data still ends up online?
If they did that. If a group did that, they would lose credibility,
Oh,
and
yeah,
no
you're
one would
right,
want to
you're
pay
right.
their ransom. That's
Ransomware
why.
is its own marketplace.
But
Yeah,
there's
that's
another
why
possibility.
groups. Hmm.
I'm
It,
sorry. Go
it
ahead.
is a possibility, but groups like the group who hacked Columbus, they have this policy. In some other groups like Ransom Hub and others, it's like you're buying the data. We don't do, two-handed or tip our hand to other offers. So when you buy the data, you're buying the only copy.
Well, that's a belief, but it might not be a fact
Yeah.
because we know without any question there's more than one group out there. Now, Group A can hack in there, do the ransomware threat, do the song and dance, and
Yeah.
Group B can come along and do the exact same thing. Everybody's scanning. So Group A could be perfectly honorable about it and surrender the data and release and shut everything down if they get paid off. And Group B that has the same information can say, "Watch this, boink." Now it's out
Get it,
there.
change their name and do it again.
Yeah, it's like there are so many possibilities that it's hard to say it'd be dishonorable. I mean, first of all, you have to believe in them enough to believe that they're going to give you the key if you give them the money. And then you're going to believe that they're not going to do anything with the data they had, or maybe they'll sell it to somebody else and you'll never know about it. There is no honor amongst thieves.
You mentioned that last point there. So many of these groups are state sponsored. So even if you paid the ransom, more than likely your exfiltrated data is going to like Russia or China or even North Korea or Iran. So it's not to say that your information is just going to be put to nefarious uses.
A lot of times, the people who do
avoiding the
nation state.
reputational damage, I think, for a lot of these people that comes with having a breach.
Well, look at what happened with MGM and Caesars.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
And
now there was a lot of collateral damage in that, and it even affected. I don't want to go too far out on a limb here, but it affected all of us as security people because DEF CON got the boot. And I don't, even though there's a lack of any, honest, straight up, yes, this is why we did it. You don't have to be Fellini to figure out that they kicked the hacker conference out because they got hacked. So, there's all kinds of damage that happens here. There's no avoiding damage, collateral damage, intentional damage, unintentional damage, reputational damage, people who know what they're doing, people who don't even know what they think they know what they're doing. Oh my God, they got hacked, so we're not going there for Vegas. We're going to Circus because Circus never got hacked. And you never really know. This whole thing is a quagmire. It's a swamp that can never be drained. And if it was ever drained, the pump that would be pumping out of it would be pumping right back into it. There'd just be a pipe leading from input to output. And the only thing that comes out of this, and I believe this is a positive thing, is job security for all of us, because there will always be a security job for us in one way or another.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the right people are put in those jobs. I just got out of a city council meeting to where the director of technology, I quote that he said he's going to look into implementing NIST 800-53. I'm just like, there's no certification for that. That's part of, it's required by FISMA to do the FISMA certification, but I'm just like, what's the point of doing that? It's like that at that point, that's basically self-certification. I want to hear the words SOC Type 2 or ISO. I want a CPA to go in and say, give me a thumbs up.
So that one's not audited at all?
So the city, from my understanding, does not do any sort of yearly audits, and there is no requirement on the state or federal level for municipalities to do any sort of SOC Type 2 or ISO. So it's basically do your best, and that's why I want to get in touch with lawmakers and start mandating that if the city is or if they're handling some
I think we have a slight connection issue
Yeah.
there, Connor.
Oh,
Can you
we're losing
Whoop.
Connor.
He
last
broke up.
They got
But
him.
I would say at that point, those types of things are just suggestions when they're not mandated.
Right. Also, we have
Yeah,
some comments from the chat as well.
Yep.
Oh.
So we have a question from Arcanian. It is, how much of Columbus's data breach was due to nothing more than not following basic policies? For instance, no MFA, no conditional access policies, or unconfigured EDR.
I
we
haven't
don't want to
seen
talk about that,
ransomware get
Connor.
past
I don't.
EDR.
Yep. I know they probably
Yeah.
haven't made that public yet, so feel free to dodge that one if you want like to.
So, no, that's actually a good question, and I won't comment on Columbus specifically. However, I will say a lot of people in municipalities do tend to follow the old school of thought: one pane of glass, one network, one set of user accounts. So if you assign an account to C Goodwolf, you give him his user account, and that account has admin access and access to every server on one network, and that, to me, that is not okay.
Well, the thing is,
Um,
nobody's not doing that. I
Least
have
privilege.
preached least privilege, zero trust, auditing, and every single time I've done it, I've been laughed at. And they go, "Oh, we're not going to do all that. We just need to be safe." So we have a problem. Actually, we're kind of a monkey in the middle. We've got the old school people, the C-level people who couldn't find their ass with both hands and a hunting dog, okay, calling the shots. We've got the new people coming out with BAs and MAs in cybersecurity who don't even know what DNS is. And no, that's not a joke.
what?
Okay? We have
Yeah,
people that are coming out, that they're churning these things out. One of the most prominent and profitable things you can do in the security industry right now is open a training school. Because
Yeah.
you'll be getting
Right.
$2,000 ahead every 2 weeks, and the people are going to come out, and it doesn't matter if they know what they're doing or not. Because someone's going to go, "Oh, you've got a BA from the University of Left Nut." Well, guess what? We're going to hire you over the guy who's been hacking in his basement for 20 years and knows what the hell he's doing. So in the middle of these two clown cars are the people, and I have no problem saying this, like us right here. We know what we're doing. We know where the bear's shit in the buckwheat. We know what needs to be done, but nobody's going to do it. So you have to make a personal decision whether you fight for the right thing, get laid off every October, or you go with the flow, cash your paychecks, and be happy.
That's the thing,
So-
too.
It's actually funny that you mention all of that. So, out of all the news organizations here who I went to, there was one news organization who wrote a very negative piece about me originally when I went to them at first, and then they wrote a hit piece on me because I told them that I'm a high school dropout, I don't have any college degree, and I've been doing all this fantastic work, and they keep putting like IT expert and cybersecurity expert in quotes as I know. It's
That's
like,
infuriating.
okay, any person worth their salt isn't going to even get those certs. And usually I tell people certs are a great way foot in the door. And sometimes, yes, you require them for federal projects. Okay, network plus, security plus, cool. But I'm certainly not going to go out of my way to get them. I'll read all the
HR
books.
stuff.
Yeah, it's HR stuff.
I have absolutely met people with master's and doctorate's degrees that have no real concept of what information security is, even though they've sat for 4, 6, 8 years in school to learn these things. So, like,
Yeah.
and even in my own career, I have 2 bachelor's degrees that did nothing for me until I got to in security and really started doing things. So, like, that's not nearly as impressive to me as actually the guy in his mom's basement, doing the thing for 20 years. That's pretty based. You guys are pretty awesome.
My
One
first
thing
job,
I like to do with the new hires is I just walk up and I look at them and I stare them right in the eyes and I wave my hand and I say, "I sense much DeVry in you, young Padawan." And more often than not, it's right. It's like, I've gone through things that no human being should when it comes to security. I once busted a guy for literally breaking root on his box and going absolutely ape nuts across the network. And they called me a racist and they shut it all down.
Damn.
And about 2 months later, it hit the newspapers, and I was just like, "Wow, thanks, guys. We're on the bus to hell, okay? And the only thing we can really do is figure out what our job is on the bus to hell. And I even wrote a song about this because I'm infosec on the bus to hell, and I am the bartender on the bus to hell, and I'm the CISSP on the bus to hell, and so on and so on. Although we make the CISSP sit in the back. But the thing is that we have no rational plan to deal with these things. And the people who are coming up with rational plans either end up being silenced, laid off, quiet fired. My favorite example is a phrase that was actually said to me once, which was, "You're not the information security person we need now. You're the person we need in 5 years."
Oh, was that Clown Shoes?
Oh.
Yes, that actually was Clown Shoes' boss. It was his boss.
Okay, all right.
Who said that to me?
Okay.
Clown
right.
Shoes stood right up behind it.
Too often on some personal stories here when we got the guest. We don't want to, we want to.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is this is what we're doing. So what do you think we should do? I mean, what's the way out?
I mean, you've obviously proven right off the bat that you don't need to be a college-educated person with 1 million certs to do this job, right? It can be something that self-taught people who know their stuff are more than capable of proving what are so-called experts wrong. I'm sure the people who check that data will have a bunch of letters after their names, and who told the mayor initially, "Hey, that data doesn't contain anything important." I'm sure all those people have multiple letters after their names and multiple degrees. But
when I look at this, was actually the question I was going to ask. I wanted to take my moment. Connor, first and foremost, good to meet you. I appreciate what you do. Good on you for fighting the good fight. That was when we started talking about this, when we started talking about bringing you on, my stab in the dark was there was somebody there in that government entity that was a security guy but wasn't actually a security guy, that looked at the data, couldn't find it, or either didn't know what he was looking at, and then said, "Hey, this is fine," and then you found it. And again, I apologize, I was late, so you may have already answered this question, but how did it actually go down?
Yeah. So I did actually explain before, but I can go over it again. Perfectly cool. So I had utilized one of my acquaintances as an example, because he came to me and asked me, like, he wanted to go over the data, and then he brought up the questions like, when I tried downloading this database using the Tor browser, it got corrupted. So how did you download it? I'm just like, and it was like an aha moment, because I told him it's like how I usually do it. I do it from the command line, because when you're downloading over 100 gigs on Tor browser and it keeps getting interrupted and you keep clicking resume, sometimes it gets corrupted. So I had to tell him, it's like, you have to do it from the command line. Use TorSox or Torify. And it's like, it was an aha moment, because it dawned on me. Someone did the exact same thing and then gave the information to the mayor saying the information was corrupted or encrypted, thus unusable. And it was like, aha. Right. The mayor wasn't lying. He was given absolutely wrong information by somebody who was not a Tor citizen, a dark web citizen. So it's like, aha.
He just wasn't a very fun person, apparently.
Well, as I said, good on you for doing that thing, man, and good on you for bringing it to light.
Yeah.
I just wish people were more communicative. But like I said, now me and the city are sitting at the table, so I may have to come back on and be like, this is how it all went down, and how the discussions happened, and this is how you want to, maybe do it in the future, should there be another situation of where a government decides to take action and then get egg on their face by the whole cybersecurity community.
Whether the outcome is good or bad, either way, I think this would be a good experience to talk about at DEF CON or something.
Oh, sure.
I want to hear
Oh,
all
man.
the details.
Definitely an opportunity for
Yeah.
lessons learned.
Now,
Definitely.
how about this? We've all
How to
seen,
deal with the government.
we've all seen the movie. We've all seen the movie Sneakers, and there's that
Yeah.
beautiful moment in the opening when he opens the briefcase and shows them the money and says, "This is weak, that is weak, this is weak. But first, who's got my check?"
Yeah.
Now, there's a place for that in all this, I think, because I would like to think that you would get paid for the work you did. And I'd like to see everyone get paid a decent wage and not have to deal with abusive or physically or psychologically diminutive environments. But do you feel that you've been treated that way in this case, or do you feel that there could be improvement there?
There can always be improvement. This whole situation, how it went down, obviously. Okay, so Dinsmore is the breach firm hired by Columbus. They originally reached out to me once the story broke by our local news media. And like I said, originally how it was going to play out was I worked for the breach firm and helped them along. And then all this went down. Communications broke down for one reason or another. And now we're at the situation where we are. But hopefully what will happen as an end result is I will likely work for the breach firm, at least in the short term.
Did you know about the situation before you ended up on the news?
Yes, sort of. So
It's
all
like
of,
you wake
I
up
was,
one day and you see yourself on the news.
Oh, well, when you say on the news, do you mean when I went to go on and report it, or do you mean the TRO?
The TROs and everything. All the articles being published.
So I was on, well, as far as the TRO, I was talking with a law enforcement officer about just how we can move forward. And all of a sudden, all the local media personalities started calling my phone. And I'm just like, what's going on? So afterwards, I call one of them. And they're like, hey, Connor, did you know he's suing you? I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell a dirty secret here. The first 5 years of my professional life out of high school was working in broadcast television. And I learned something very hard and very strong. And for my naive self back then, 16 years old, it was a shock. But the truth of the matter is you cannot rely on any of the media outlets or any news outlet. They are there to do one thing: make money. Whatever makes money is what will ever end up on the print. So when they smear you, they're making money. They're getting click-throughs, they're getting subscriptions. When they don't smear you, they're getting click-throughs, they're getting subscriptions. They monitor these things, Arbitron. We all know, Arbitron. And whenever they do, that gets them the most bang for their buck is what they're going to do more of. So it's like, it's left to the people, and you gotta forgive me for this, but the impressionable, ignorant people to be led by the nose by the media to make judgments against people like us, and it's not easy. Yeah. You could save a drowning kitten, and CNN will say hacker puts kitten underwater to see how long the bubbles come up for.
Yeah.
And you cannot trust or rely on this, and anyone who knows you as a person should not trust or rely on it. It's just something for us to sit around the bar and have drinks and laugh about. And people take it way too seriously. Kevin Mitnick could whistle into a phone and launch a nuclear missile, and people ate that up. They believed it, and it's still going on to this day. So I think that I think we should, whenever we can, make it clear that broadcast and general media is not to be trusted. And that you should not form your opinions of hackers, either collectively or individually, by what they say. There is a world of difference between a nation-state sponsored bunch of guys at an old arcade trying to take down Iron Mountain and a kid in his dad's basement trying to piece together his first PC from the parts he got out of a dumpster and an article on Reddit. We deserve better, and we should demand better.
But I mean, we're past the point of a kid working from his parents' basement, hacking into
We're grown-ups working from our parents'
corporations.
basements.
We are, but those kids still exist. They're still out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not saying that they don't still exist. I even know some agents who are looking into expand onto programs to actually help those sort of actors before they turn to adults. They're looking for companies to basically sponsor and help these sort of individuals before they end up doing something that will be long-lasting until their adult life.
I'd like to see that because Cisco tried it and it failed miserably. And they killed it after. Yeah, Cisco had a thing called Peter Packet, which was an animated cartoon show about how to subnet and what routers are and things like that. And then in the background, there was the hackers are going to reprogram the switch so the switch can get the data to the people in outer nowhere that need to download a water making machine or filtering machine from Wikipedia. And like they always saved some poor, impoverished third, fourth world country by hacking. And it was really good. I mean, the educational part was good. It had a catchy 80s theme song. And they made maybe 5 of these cartoons. and it died. They used to have Cisco academies inside of high schools. And when you say about the feds, that's a two-edged sword. On the one hand, there's the good Fed that says, I will teach you to do right, young hacker, and you can come work for us as an analyst someday. Oh boy, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be a Fed. And then there's the Fed that says, hey, look, here's some information about a website. Go and crack it and then share the data with us and you'll get a reward. And their reward is they get thrown in jail. And they go, oh, hey, this hacker kid, not saying that they groomed, they don't tell you that they groomed them. They busted this wide open and, we're going to put these kids in juvie where they belong. So, even if you want to do that, you got to be careful.
Well, I think they're aiming more for, let's take the 16-year-old and show him that he can actually do his pen testing skills, give him a pen testing cert, and actually do this for a living. Versus
I like to teach people how to do
groups.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I do on the side too, is I even gave a talk at a middle school earlier this year. And I'll take people individually and be like, hey, here's how do you get from A, B, C to D while you're doing your self-study? Because without going to college or following a certification that they can't afford or whatever, I try to say like, hey, here's the YouTube series you need to watch. Do this first, then do this, then do that. Go play on Hack the Box, watch IPSec, do all this. And that gives them something to do. And eventually they'll be able to be smarter and more ready for an interview than if they just went and got a certification.
Yeah.
I agree. The thing is the lack of mentors, also there's not necessarily everybody who works in this industry has time or even the inclination to help other people learn what we know. And there's also some gatekeeping that goes on, and it's also very cliquey, so
certain backgrounds are a whole lot harder to get a mentor when you're young than other backgrounds. Don't ask me how I know.
Hey.
We'll be here all year.
Where I grew up, if you like Star Trek instead of Dukes of Hazzard, you got beat up and left on the soccer field with a bloody nose. But you know what? Nowadays, we have kids in kindergarten that are walking around with iPads. So hopefully some good will come of that, other than people screaming, you don't need so much screen time.
I have a friend whose kid knows how to use an iPad and play video games on it, but doesn't know how to talk yet.
Hey, dude, I know how to mod Minecraft. Does that make me a hacker?
Technically, yes.
Technically correct.
So for those who do not know, Arcanon was one of my earliest bosses and mentors. So he took my basement learned skill set and turned it into something that was corporately viable, which is
That's
a
the
lot of work, I
spirit.
promise.
You know, one of
Um,
the first things I ever did was take Jumpman on the Commodore 64, feed it into a hex editor, and made the loading screen say, "Go play with yourself for a few minutes," instead of "Please wait a few minutes." And
Careful,
that
your
was my
age is showing.
that's my first experience with a hex editor. And but you know what? It grows from there, doesn't it?
Mine was
It
replacing the
does.
login screen with a QBasic version of it that is recorded stuff when people type their passwords in. But,
wow,
yeah.
I'm young. Holy
I got
crap.
into my mom's homeschool account on our computer and changed my grades.
The
And
days
yes,
of
the password was
the good old days.
admin on my school network.
Now, the question is,
Connor,
did
what
you
were
just
some of
change
your
your
early
grade?
experiences when it came to learning about this stuff? Since you did say you're mostly self-taught, so like, what do you remember from the good old days?
Who was that question directed at?
That was at Connor. If
Yep.
if
Oh, okay.
Oh, what was the question?
So I was saying, since you mentioned that you're mostly self-taught, you don't have a lot of the degrees and all the certs and all that many people think people in our position would have. What were like some of your earliest memories of learning computer stuff? And like, for me, for instance, it was setting up an IPX network so I could play Doom with my brother. Like for you, what do you remember?
Wow, mine was actually Commodore 64. We had a modem and everything, and other computers there. And mine was learning how at first to play all the different games and type in load. What was it, 8 comma asterisk or whatever? But and then just having computers from there and just kind of learning how to dial BBSs. And I went to like boys club for starters, and people would always donate hardware, so I would actually be allowed to take some of it home because otherwise it was going to get trashed, because some of it was just not usable for the club situation. I was the one who would always like set up everything, install games, set up the network, do the wiring, so it was pretty much as a learn as you go situation, because it was all volunteer work basically, and that was when I was preteen. So it's like it was I've always been doing this stuff growing up, and even before then, like the oh my gosh, the C64 basic. I had just been at it, and no one even directed me or gave me books. Like people would, for some reason, give books to me out of the blue because I would tell them about my computer at home, etc. And just like it's all been really the community raised me, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, and the community needs to continue doing that and raising more good people who continue this kind of work. It's
well, and that's why I was saying it's just like we can all make a difference.
The community is really important.
Everyone can make. Yeah. What?
So,
What's this? Oh,
people are just kind of
keeps breaking up.
Their stuff there.
That was a little bit spotty.
It's like I might need to. Are you there? Yeah. It's like I think. Oh.
Connor, we're still here.
I think I can see everyone now. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Look behind you. It's an agent.
I knew I should have given that one fed my phone jammer.
Oh, but yeah, no. It's been, for me, it's been all about community, finding the right people who have rather given me computers or books, and basically held my hand and showed me where to go to get more information. Because I know not everyone had paper books. They would rather have CHMs or PDFs or whatever. Remember when books were loaded into CHM files?
It was a bit before my time.
You weren't even born yet.
Man.
Exactly. No, I was probably about 10 years from being born, actually.
Oh, man.
I'm the baby in the group here.
Oh, it's good
Pepperidge
times.
Farm remembers.
I do wonder with this generation growing up with technology right at their fingertips, how so many people are still technologically illiterate. It's like they don't use their phone, but not a computer.
Dude,
They
you
don't
can't
know how
text
to do-
stupid.
like they don't know how to type. It's
Yeah. You've seen those videos where
Yeah.
they hand somebody like a rotary phone and they have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Though my favorite one so far is the one where they handed the kid a Walkman and a tape, and they could not figure out what to do. Like 20 minutes, they were like, "I don't know what the hell this thing does."
Well,
That's
snack
a
holder.
funny looking play button.
We need pencils.
You open up the little drawer and you cram your potato chips in there.
That's right.
I
That's
know.
what I did when I was young. Worked fine.
Yeah. And sometimes you
The
put a
thing
tape in
is-
there too. Sometimes.
This song is crunchy.
Even if you work by the law of averages, though, some kid is going to get some piece of technology, and his parents aren't going to know what the hell it is, and it's going to change their life forever. And 50 years from now, they're going to be the ones sitting on the podcast going, "Hey, you remember in the bad old days?" And, you know,
You 3D printed the save icon, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
That line aged me 10
I've got it
years.
on my wall.
There's actually a person, and I can't remember her name. She works for NASA. She 3D printed a 3.5-inch floppy, but it was the perfect size for putting an Adafruit mini computer inside of it. So where the label was this blank screen. And I took that and ran with it and adopted it for a new version of SneakerNet. Because back in the old days, you could use SneakerNet to hand a 3.5 to somebody, and there's only so much data. And now there's like, here's 4 terabytes, you know, and a screen that lights up and tells you what's on it, you know. And there are kids out there who have that kind of imagination. And they're not the ones going, I've got an iPad, you don't have anything, because we put up with those kids who said, I have an Atari and you have a Coleco. And, you know, we managed to come out okay. But there's a kid out there who's going to take that damn thing apart, and next thing you know, they're going to be talking to the ISS. And those are the people we're living for right now. Those are the people that we are pulling for and looking forward to and saying, hey, kid, you know, guess what you're getting for your birthday? TCP IP Illustrated.
When I was a kid, I
young
actually did
kids.
talk to the ISS.
They are the
All
over
well
2
like
meter.
kids, but got started late in life. Also, we're not like excluding y'all here, just so you know. Like, don't take it personal, because it's okay to figure out you have a knack for this in your late 20s.
Oh yeah. No.
Sorry for cutting you off there, Sledge. You cut out pretty bad, and I was also cutting in and out.
It's about being willing to plant seeds of trees you'll never see the shade of. It's kind of the jam, isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of where it goes.
I mean, I remember when I was growing up, me and my buddy Rob on garbage day would go out and look for all the people who were throwing out their computers, and we'd take them and Frankenstein them together and make new computers. And then, you know, the ones we wanted to keep, we'd keep. The ones that, you know, the extra parts and whatnot, we'd give away to neighborhood kids who didn't have them, and sometimes we'd even sell them to companies who needed the computers. You know, it was pretty good beginnings, you know, I'd imagine. And I don't think too many people really today are interested in stuff like that. Like, just let me build something that from junk. And it's what people obsessed with, like the latest game on their phone, or, you know, whatever stuff's in the media. I really hope we can perpetuate that hacker spirit and keep the next generation interested. And get people like Connor out there.
I got some good news for you on that end. I heard just the other day, even though I'm not going to be able to make it, that the MIT flea market is back in business again and open again.
Oh, cool.
And then if you want to buy some crazy stuff, piss your parents off and run up your electric bill, that's the place to do it.
I had some old stuff earlier this year that I couldn't even give away. The electronics recycling place wouldn't even take it. It was just like some 20-year-old routers, switches that I learned on, and I just couldn't even give it away. I even talked to the colleges, and they didn't want it.
Recycling
Man.
places can also, some of them will let you go in there and buy stuff. There's one here locally I got a deal going with, but I could never get there because of my obvious fund. But, you could go in there and you could buy stuff from the surplus piles and resell it or reuse it, or, hey, I need this esoteric part. I need a power supply for my Commodore 64, or somebody chunked their Commodore 64 and there's a fast load cartridge in it, and you're like, oh, hell yeah, score.
In my case, it would be like, I need a tube for my radio.
Yep. Well, that's the MIT flea market. And, a lot of ham radio swap meets are the same way.
Yeah.
You'll get some Elmer who's got some piece of equipment that has been plugged in since before you were born.
Yep.
One thing I found, I couldn't buy it. I didn't have money at the time, and I'd never have a place to put it. I was working for a TV station, and we went up to the transmitter to do maintenance work, and somebody had parked a Mars truck up there. Like original Mars truck, original equipment, everything. Even the rust on it was original. And I was just like, but they had to stay there.
When you went to that transmitter, did it make your hair stick up?
Only if you step in the right place at the right time. There's
I've been in some pretty intense ones.
They have that little, colored tape around the klystron for a reason.
Yeah.
Good times. Wow, it was light out when we started talking to Connor. Now it's dark there.
He's been
Are you
out
still
there
good where you're at?
I know. Now I have Christmas lights because, she's defrosting. You know who's defrosting.
They keep putting the Christmas stuff up earlier and earlier, and I'm okay with it. A lot of people complain,
but that means it's fair game to put Halloween stuff up earlier.
That's funny looking Halloween decorations.
Yeah, they put the Christmas stuff up before the Halloween stuff now. It's like, okay.
I know. Oh, no, I think, though, these lights may actually be color changing, so I think they keep these ones up year-round. I just haven't been in this area of Easton at night.
That would be a cool way to go about it. Just get the color changing ones. They don't have to keep redecorating. That's what I should do.
Yeah. That's what some of them do. It's like some places, like 4th of July, they'll just change all the lights to red, white, and blue. So.
Then sometimes I use IR to change the red lights to green, but that's a whole nother story.
Sometimes I use my flipper to change someone else's lights.
That's why I bought the ones that I have, is because there's Bluetooth vulnerabilities that you can go after and change the colors without authenticating to it.
I've had a lot of fun with those, but my downstairs neighbor doesn't seem to be so appreciative of my color choices.
I was glad when I figured out how to jam Bluetooth with my downstairs neighbor at my old place. They would blast.
Oh, yeah. That gave me so much peace. Their music options are just...
Fun times.
Did we lose Connor?
So, Connor, in closing remarks, we want to try to keep this usually around an hour to an hour and a half. What would you impart the next generation of people with in terms of knowledge and what should people know about Connor that they can apply to themselves?
I'm pretty sure we lost him.
Yeah, it looks like he's just that's your reaction image. Just take a screen cap of that, and that's what he wants everybody to know. Just that one.
That's his new avatar.
There we go.
The FBI guy in chat playing GeoGuessr right now. Could you please unblock Connor for 5 seconds so we can finish the stream? Thank you.
Hard out like all that. I like to imagine there's a dude in a surveillance van who's jamming his Wi-Fi that he was just on just to screw with him a little.
There's some PI watching him or a Fed.
It's the IT guy from Columbus.
Is the obvious glowy from chat earlier? No.
But then there's probably somebody behind that guy who's jamming him.
It's the meme where they're all in the church pointing guns at each other's heads.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
We can do it kind of like how Paul
He's
Security
back.
used to do it in the game of Ask Jamie Jamie.
Sorry about your FBI agent. I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's right. The CIA got me.
Oh no!
Explains that van in the background. No.
He gets raided live on air.
They wanted to make sure his laptop would be open so they could get him then. So.
Grab and run. Make sure he doesn't have like USB around his arm or something where it would just pull out.
Are you AI? Can you see this picture?
Yeah. But there we go. Yeah, it's like I think Barnes and Noble got annoyed I was using their Wi-Fi. I don't know.
All right. So
We hear you now, though.
Well, they'll get annoyed if you don't buy anything, but you got to go in there and say, "I wanted to buy something, but you stopped carrying 2600."
I went to Million and got a 2600 2 days ago.
Oh man.
Speaking of 2600, Delchai had a thing published in there not long ago called the Bone Box, which is pretty neat. Good on you, Delchai. And then I lost his Bone Box.
And then it lost it. It got stolen at DEF CON.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, and it wasn't me who stole it.
Yeah.
Well, we think that one of the AV services people took it, and then they just basically said, nope, we don't have it. That's what it's come down to.
Oh, sorry about that.
Unfortunate. So Connor, what I was trying to say was, what advice do you have for the next generation of hackers and people who want to get in this industry? What should they be doing so that they can get to a point where they're in a job like yours and doing good?
Oof. That's a hard one. It's like the best advice I can ever give to people is you need to come out of your shell. I've always been extroverted, but I know not everyone's not like me. So as I tell people, you need to learn to socialize, to communicate, be an effective communicator, and find hot fields. Like for me, it was really learning how to program at a young age and then finding where I would fit in, because I did everything from telco programming to systems engineering to just general software engineering. And then I fell in love with machine learning. And that ended up really becoming my bread and butter. It's like find some area that you love that also can generate an effective income for you to fund your own personal pet projects.
I would double up on that by saying, yes, you're right. Go talk to people. So I always say go to conferences, even if it's a local conference, a local club. Don't be scared to go up to people, because most people in our situations or in our positions, we love talking and helping. Just like come say hi, introduce yourself, learn what everybody else is doing, listen to them talk about what they do, see where you want to go with what interests you as you go through these conversations, stuff like that. And then just don't be scared to ask for help. Most people are willing to help. There's more gate openers these days than there are gatekeepers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like as I said before, it's like there are law enforcement agencies wanting to make sure that kids don't end up going down the wrong path. So I try to help people where I can, whether get them connected to the right people or invite people in to the folds. Like maybe they're just working in IT or tech and they want to enter cybersecurity, but they have no idea how. So I'm just like, come with me to some of our local cybersecurity conferences or DEF CON or whatever. Just, start meeting people and talking to people and find where you fit in.
Half of my point, though, is also a lot of people are antisocial and kind of shy. So we need to break that stigma. Like, don't be scared to just go say hi. Say, hey, what do you like to do? Do you like hot dogs? Start a conversation, anything.
So basically, you want a Willy Wonka of technology, right?
Yeah.
So he's out there dancing around old Cisco routers and swinging from some RJ45 cables. And come with me, and you'll see a world of electronic imagination.
And maybe OSHA violations.
Yeah, with me, it's OSHA violations.
Well, I mean, but to be honest about it, we've got something like that now. If you look at Adafruit, because I think Adafruit has done more for young people who are just getting into electronics. And, instead of going, no, you can't touch that because you'll break it, you go, here, kid, here's a soldering iron, knock yourself out.
But don't burn yourself.
And just don't touch the end.
Patent court.
we've gotten past taking the 9-volt battery to the tongue to see if it's still any good.
I mean, we don't. You guys still don't do that?
Yeah, y'all don't
No, I
do
do
that.
that.
I sure do.
It's metallic. Yum. And of course, if you're like me and you're insufferably awkward, just make sure you make it punny and hilarious, and then you can get away with doing anything.
And you know what else? I mean, not
Just
to
grab
go
the
on
electric
to-
fence to see if it works.
Not to go
Or
too
get someone
far
else
into
to
the
do it.
weeds, but you know, we also have Hackers with Disabilities, HDA, at DEF CON. And we get a lot of neurodivergent people and people who just need a quiet space or to socialize without hearing techno or something. And we had a lot of people exchanging a lot of ideas. And a project that I'm working on now because of that is you all, I don't know if you all know about Rolling Thunder, which is my wheelchair that runs Kali Linux.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Oh,
I'm making something new, and it fits into a vest of a assistance animal.
My gosh.
And the technical name, the preliminary name is called Doggy Door. And
You work with the wall collar guys on that.
it works. It does a couple of different things. I'm working on building it out so it will automatically open handicap doors, because by law, some handicap doors have to be opened by RF, by a radio transmitter. And so, like, it's called Doggy Door, and it's going to be like something that sticks onto their vest, and your dog can order drive for you, as well as open doors and help you out or call for help.
Can I get one
Put
for
some
my
Wi-Fi
cat?
stuff on there.
Yeah, that's the plan.
I've
I've
stuff
seen
on there and call it war walking.
I've seen some of those signal files for Flipper, and I had no idea before that those doors could be opened by RF. So that was news to me. So I was like, that's actually pretty cool, and gave me some ideas.
Oh
It was
yeah.
great to use my
Well,
Flipper
especially when
pushing my mom's
people
wheelchair. Like
when the doors aren't great, or the buttons are in a place you can't reach, or you know you're carrying something, and that's why I got into it.
Yeah.
In my case, it was pushing my mom's wheelchair. The doors closed really, really fast on a lot of them.
Yes.
But by having that RF, I didn't have to juggle her, the door, the chair's width, all of that.
You know what I wish he had? Something similar for elevator doors, because I've gotten stuck in so many elevator doors.
Oh.
I started carrying a 2-foot long piece of PVC pipe to point out ahead of me, which led to the idea of wheelchair jousting at DEF CON. And I said, yeah, not going to happen at DEF CON anymore. But damn, what a good idea.
We'll have to take it out back.
Well, you know.
Man.
Yeah, I would probably pay for entry to watch wheelchair jousting at DEF CON. I think that would be actually pretty cool, but I can see why, for liability reasons, they would not want that.
The problem is I already know who's going to win, and he's in here right now, so.
Well, no, thank you.
You do have a pretty souped up chair.
I do.
Like, we'd have to get you something factory standard to make it fair for everybody else.
Oh, that reminds me, Delcha, you gotta send me the model of the other one so I can get you the replacement.
Oh
card.
yeah. Yep.
I take full responsibility. I forgot to bring one of the packages back from HDA, and it got lost.
Also, Arcanon just asked a very good question, because I, as a representative of our Lord and Savior Tux, do not support the Windows startup sound.
John motherfucking Hammond, our Lord and Savior, the only one. John motherfucking.
He banged my cock.
He did, in fact, bang your cock. It was,
the thing is, hackers grant us the wisdom to change the Windows startup sound, and the serenity to accept it, or the wisdom to not tell anybody we're running Windows.
I could just use Linux. Might I recommend 100 of my favorite distros?
I like the people running Linux in an enterprise environment where they use the layover to make it look like it's Windows.
I used to do that at my old job because they thought I was doing something illegal anytime they saw
Callie has that built in since last year.
Yeah, Callie did it.
Well, it's better than having to admit that you can't figure out how to get the Linux audio system to work to do a startup sound.
Yeah, okay, I'll take that one.
I remember my first open source.
I remember mine. I thought Gen 2 sounded like a fun afternoon project. It was. Several afternoons.
I was on a
so.
first date with somebody
2
once,
weeks
and I was talking
later.
all about open source, and she thought I was saying open source the whole time.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
God.
lovely. You know, that might explain why I haven't had much luck.
that's like the one that caught everybody around the globe, and you can even still go into Google and see it. The Large Hadron Collider, and see
Oh.
how many news people effed that up. And I mean, seriously, I mean, there were serious news sources that were like calling it something else.
Yeah, I have to admit, I read those titles and that I kept calling it by that name
Yep.
for at least a good 6 months before someone corrected me.
So back to we can't trust the media, and this is why.
Yeah.
Well, there are other examples of not trusting the media, but that would be a whole nother show.
No, honestly, with regards to like the civil suit, the city had launched against me. They had actually put in there. I'm summarizing it, but they claimed that I was milking the media by going to them so many times. But here's the thing: it's like I had already discussed with various news stations, like giving them more news stories, because I've monitored the dark web and other I monitor various aspects of just internet, Telegram, etc. So I had already told them this is there are areas where people are selling boxfuls of Glock switches and psychopharmaceuticals and all these other places. I know exactly why the CEO of Telegram was arrested. I can literally show you. Oh.
Did they?
That's a
did they
whole
drop
other
that,
can of
by the
worms
way?
there.
Oh, don't get me started.
That's a different episode.
I can go on for hours on that.
Did they?
Honestly, we may have you back for that. That'd be
Did they drop the
awesome.
lawsuit?
Not yet,
Are they?
but we're eventually going to get there.
Okay.
But no, there are great media people. It's just you just have to find them, and you have to dig into their background, know who to speak to. And then there are the less admirable media peeps who will just drag your name through the mud without any understanding whatsoever.
Deborah
They
Radcliffe.
will sell papers, or
Anybody
whatever
remember
their
Deborah Radcliffe?
media might be now.
Also, Sledgehammer Cat. It was a very cute cat.
He won't leave me alone.
He's so cute. He knows that he's here to boost ratings. Show the world the cat.
And I still say that the number one thing we can do is become our own.
Wait, bring it back up. You're on solo now, Sledge. We gotta see that
Yeah.
kitty.
He wants
Oh,
the
you're
attention
cute.
so bad.
I don't know. I'm not much of a
You gotta
cat
send a
person.
picture of that cat to Zach Whitaker's newsletter. He has cyber cats at the end of each one.
Hey, there you go.
I'd imagine there's some dog people in this chat too.
As I was going to say, where are the dog people? Show me your canines.
I got 2 dogs in the cage right now, but
Yep.
they're crazy.
I like dogs too.
with Autumn, because he's a bit crazy too.
This cat brought in a bird today, right in front of my desk, and it was still alive, running around. And I was like,
Oh, he forgot to finish the job. He's so excited to get you the bird, he forgot to finish the job. But birds aren't real, so he brought you a government drone.
He was
bourgeoisie.
he just outed a Fed for it. So I was like, whatever, let's go.
He's working as an agent for the government, bringing you those surveillance drones. You know.
Putting
He's
it right
telling
in front
you
of
to
the
repair it. Repair it for free for the government.
Let me get my
Recharge it too.
multimeter out for the bird.
Just make sure you stick it in the right port, otherwise you won't get a reading.
Yeah.
All right.
There's
Well,
the one
I
attached to the neck, and then there's the.
think we've hit the good mark here. We should probably cut off the cat and just go to the post-show banter where we're not broadcasting. Thank you all for joining. We really do appreciate the audience and those who chose to ask some questions of Connor here.
Do
We'll
a
be
cool
back.
outro.
Or before we go, I don't know if this has also been answered, but Connor, did you have any legal fees? And if so, did you have some kind of GoFundMe or somewhere we could donate to you or whatever like that?
Oh yeah. So right now I don't have any legal fees. Even though I've talked with lawyers, they're on standby.
Okay.
But it's not just the tech community or the cybersecurity community. It's been lawyers being very, very patient with me and backing me, and just this whole situation, I'm absolutely floored. Like I said, it's not just tech or cybersecurity. It's the community at large who's been so supportive. So no, I don't have any legal fees right now. And it kind of makes me feel, well, like I owe them something. So it's just like, you know what? If I don't hire you because you've been so helpful, it's just like, I want to give them something because it's like everyone's been so helpful without actually charging me. So, as I said, it's just like, no, I don't have any legal fees.
Well, if
On
you
the flip
start
side,
something- if you
on
start
the flip
something-
side of that is we owe you a beer because you're doing the Lord's
Yeah.
work.
Everyone,
sure,
including
for
the
sure.
watchers, owe you a beer. Like CMU watchers, like DEF CON.
Well,
like,
yeah, we'll catch you after your DEF CON talk next year because we know what's coming. We'll catch you after your DEF CON talk. Be like, hey, we interviewed you. Let's go have a beer.
like all
Let me
200 of
give
us.
you one piece of advice. Lock it in now and make sure that it's beer. Otherwise, they'll make you drink Malort.
Oh, come on.
And you don't want that.
Okay, so my price isn't beer; it's mead. Give me the
Okay,
drink
cool.
of warriors, the good stuff.
Oh, we're gonna have
Oh,
a
dude.
Those are
Easy,
gonna be
Dave. I've
involved.
got you covered.
I love me.
Okay.
I knew I
I've
liked
got a
you.
guy that makes it himself, and he brings
I
it.
also have some in the other room that's chooching as we speak.
I brew mead at home. I can make up to 60 gallons at a time. So,
I'm not
Well, maybe
that
we
cool.
should have a meet off.
And we'll all have to come in Ren Fair garb at DEF CON.
yes.
I'm gonna
just-
dress like a
I heard
pirate.
I swear to God, I just bought a
No.
cloak. Don't fuck with me. I will win this.
Ooh, I hear a challenge.
Strong
Me-
words.
I did. I just bought a cloak. I actually bought two. So cool. That's
Oh.
excellent, Connor. If in the event that you do end up with something like that, you do start some kind of GoFundMe or something, please let us know. I will
Oh,
absolutely be the first person to donate to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, it's like
Same.
I've
Oh.
even had former Columbus Police Department officers reach out because the lawsuit says an amount greater than $25,000.
Mhm.
I've even had one of the former CPD officers reach out and say, if they fine you, Connor, I'll give you $5,000 to help pay it off. I'm just,
Sick.
it's not just media, it's not just community at large. It's literally law enforcement reaching out and being
Mhm.
supportive of me. Everyone's been just, yeah.
You're doing the Lord's work, my guy. And
Yep.
it comes back, man. It does. When you do good things come back.
I just punned. I got a name for a mead, guys. Man in the Meadle.
Oh,
Man in the middle. Oh man.
I'll let you have all the credit for that one.
Go home. Go
Ah,
home. Go home.
How long did it take you to brew that pun?
Jesus.
Oh, come on. I thought this would be more honeyed comments.
Oh my God, it's going on the list, but I hate you for it.
And Connor, you are always welcome back anytime you'd like to come on the cast. We do this every Monday. So,
Even after I took you
guys,
out
you will also be busy, but you are welcome anytime.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I'll have to come back, especially if I make some progress here that may
Yes,
end
please
up becoming pretty big news. So,
Right on.
No, we'd be happy to have you. All right, well, we're gonna
all right,
play
everyone.
a little outro, and then we're out.
Tune in to the sound waves, secrets of the dark maze. Cockroach and the dark. Information's old lies. Web3 in the spotlight, chatting through the late night. Smart contracts, they're lying, auditing their defiance.
so bad. I want to go to the
No.
original.
Why do 90% of hackers?
Exposing the secrets in the shadows, Havoc and Sledge are here to guide you through the digital jungle. Grab your popcorn and put on your tinfoil hats, folks, because it's time for the Counter Srveil podcast. Every Monday night on the Iron Geek channel on YouTube, join the dynamic duo of the digital world, Havoc and Sledge, along with their guests, the top InfoSec players in the industry. These guys aren't just any keyboard warriors, they're the badass hackers of InfoSec, paid to break into systems and help companies secure their shit better. They've got the skills to pay the bills and maybe save you from a cyber meltdown. Tune in to learn how to outsmart the bad guys, the advanced persistent threat actors and digital criminals seeking to steal your data and identity. Learn to protect yourself online, secure your data, and become an InfoSec ninja who
That's better.
That song is way better.
Yeah, I don't know why little girls would sing the last one.
different prompts. This one's definitely it. Yeah.
I could actually play this song on a daily. I like it.
Even if it does give me the chuckles. I don't know, I just feel so cheesy.
You know what we need to do is to go out and make an open intro outro like they did for the Broken.
We did one the other day.
The Broken was like one of the best intros ever.
Yeah, we should make a broken-ass intro. Or let's do a shot-by-shot remake of the Broken intro.
Yeah, Connor?
That would be funny. You'd have to let Amber drive, though.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and drop because my battery's about to die here. But until next time, everyone.
Thank you again, Connor.
Thank you.
Hey, nice meeting up digitally.
Genuinely.
That was cool.
I've got to go back to work. Go figure. I don't want to.
Oh, but you got
Fortunately, that's
to.
how we pay the bills.
Yeah, that is true, and I did just pay my bills. So. All those needles I have to buy are cheap. LOL.
LOL.
Wow, this thing gets bright.
What are you frightening there?
It's over. Go home.
Join the blog. The potential for contagious crawl. Belief is what we sow. And the truth will disappear. CounterSueveil, join the blog.